Chicago, the Windy City. Founded in 1837 with an original population of 4,000, growing to what we now know today as the third largest city in the US, with a population of about 2.7 million. Iconic for its skyscrapers and dozens of historical sites and institutions, it has become a landmark to America. It is all thanks to a man by the name of John Baptiste Point du Sable that this was all possible. But the city did not appear out of nothing. We must understand how Chicago looked even before DuSable first settled here in 1790, in an area of land that was known only as Indian country. This area was mainly inhabited by tribes such as the Potawatomi, the Illiniwek, and the Miamis. These tribes thrived on the area's vast variety of livestock and fish. These communities will trade amongst each other, creating important connections that allowed for the expansion of these villages. Chicago quickly then became a place where imperial powers would look for to the ever-increasing fur trade. Skins of various animals would be traded in exchange for many outside goods. Settlers came and went, eventually leading up to the establishment of a trading post near the shore of Lake Michigan. Villages were built for the sole purpose of trading goods. People of mixed races were a common sight. It is traditionally thought that the birthplace of our protagonist, John Baptiste Point du Sable, was Santo Domingo, Haiti. But there is a new belief that he came from a trading village known as Kaskaskia along the shore of the Illinois River. Being of mixed race, his father a Frenchman and his mother a black slave, DuSable was skilled in social skills and fluent in various languages including French, English, and Native American tongues. All these traits made him a great prodigy for a businessman and would allow him to eventually become the founder of what is now known as Chicago.
What makes anyone a great entrepreneur? This is not an easy question to answer. Certainly DuSable's abilities are clearly documented. He was a very successful fur trader. He had an official license from the British government. He had deep connections to Montreal merchants, to Kaskaskia, to Cahokia, and we know he established a successful firm at Michigan City during the American Revolution. What makes a great entrepreneur? Obviously, skill set in the business you're conducting, connections. DuSable had a very, very powerful sponsor, William Burnett, who was a prominent and wealthy trader who had a vast network of trading posts in the upper Midwest. DuSable was fluent at Native American languages as well as French and English. He clearly was politically savvy, as his release from the British prison attests to. Capital, and we know he got a decent amount of capital from William Burnett, connections. But I think ultimately when you package it all together, it's DuSable's savvy and skill set and connected to his ability to bridge multiple cultures, which was necessary to be a successful fur trader during this time.
DuSable took all his acquired skills and moved to a trading post near Lake Michigan in the 1790s, where he married and had children with one of the natives. He became a very sought-after man, not only by the natives, but also by traders from other nations. During the time of the Revolutionary War, he was arrested by the British under suspicions of being an American sympathizer. Seeing the person that he was, the British made use of DuSable's skills and made him an interpreter and business associate in Michigan. He later returned to the trading post he had established and stayed for a few years before leaving to St. Charles, Missouri, where he later died in 1818. DuSable's stay in Chicago marked a great milestone in continuous settlement in that area and paved the way for a flourishing line of business that no one had successfully accomplished before. Because of this, he is often regarded as the city's true founder. DuSable took a stand by defeating the obstacles that held him back, such as race and background. As being a black entrepreneur, he set the standard for other minorities, as well as breaking the common white man or superior race ideology.
I'm going to answer the question about what advantages and disadvantages did DeSable have based on his background. And I'm assuming by background that you're asking a question about race and ethnicity. In terms of race and ethnicity, there's no documentation suggesting DeSable was discriminated against for being a free black man. When we were looking at this idea of Indian country, we can say things were very fluid during this time period in terms of how people viewed each other's races. There was a lot of intermarriage, and really the key thing was to make money, to profit off of the fur trade. And DeSable was very good at that. And so we know he's well regarded among his peers, his fellow traders, merchants in Canada, and in the States, and by Native Americans. And he established a Métis family at Chicago, a Native American wife and children. And this certainly, if there is one thing, I can't find disadvantages in the historical record. We can say this certainly gave DeSable his advantage as a negotiator as a middle person between Native American culture and European American culture. And in fact, he later becomes an interpreter for the U.S. government at Chicago. And we know that he, because of this skill set, was a leader of the Métis community.
The subject of Chicago's first founder is still very much debated among scholars. Traditionally, DeSable receives this title, but many still say that John Kinsey, a white businessman, is the city's original founder. According to The Development of Chicago, a book published in 1916, John Kinsey is very well the true founder. Adding on, there is much more historical documentation on Kinsey, an area where DeSable lacks credit. The lack of historical documentation on DeSable's accomplishments goes to show how disregarded he may have been because of his racial background. Other so-called founders of Chicago, such as John Kinsey, are greatly prioritized. The fact that he was a white man may very well be the most contributing factor to this. The standards for a black man in the past were very low. This being said, DeSable took a stand against socially imposed standards by achieving more than what was expected for his race, and going above the ideology that only a white man can be so successful.
Was DeSable the founder of Chicago? From the perspective of using the criteria, there is a continual permanent settlement after DeSable comes here in 1788. The answer is absolutely yes. DeSable is the founder of Chicago.